Well, hey, what is up? Welcome back to Freed's First Time. I am Freed. I'm just your average consumer that likes to listen to music, laugh, and talk about whiskey. That sounds like something you're into? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And today we're talking about two Islay scotches. Same distillery, but different expressions. Now, before I begin, I do know, and it's not lost on me, that nobody really wants to hear an American talk about scotch. It's like a good old boy from Louisiana trying to explain the intricacies of the migrating patterns of the African swallow. He could be completely accurate, 100% right to a T, but at the end, you're still just, you don't believe him. But, because outside of bourbon, nobody gives a shit what an American has to say about whiskey. And it just sounds better coming out of an accent. Well, to me anyway. But I'm going to go forward anyway, we're going to trug along, and we're just going to let this go. Now, today we're going to look at these two. I just put that there because it looks alright. That's actually the China-only release, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm going to fill up my glasses with this first. We're going to look at the Kilchoman Sanaig, and we're going to look at the Kilchoman Machir Bay. Now, both of these obviously come from the same distillery, and it's basically the same juice in each one. It's just the maturation method is a bit different with each of them. They're both about 3 to 5 years old, but the Machir Bay was matured in 90-10, 90% ex-bourbon, 10% sherry, and the Sanaig was a bit flip-flopped at 70-30. It's 70% Oloroso sherry and 30% ex-bourbon. This one here is the China release only small batch. It is actually 49%, and that is essentially the same as the Machir Bay, but they took a barrel-proof Sauternes matured whiskey and blended it into it. So I'm pretty excited about that. I haven't opened it yet because I'm one of those guys. It says special edition, it says small batch, it's numbered, so it's going to take a really special occasion for me to actually crack that open, if at all. But moving forward with these two babies, full disclosure, if you're waiting in line at the liquor store or something and you're wondering which one to buy, because these are very readily available and around the same price. I mean, they're both 46%, they're both non-chill filtered, they're both non-colored. And when I checked, was it Total Wine, they're both the same, like $46, I think. Was it? Is that my notes? Check my notes. $65. Yeesh. For each of them. But on Master of Malt, there was a $10 difference between the two. But it really comes down to a matter of... Apologies, there's trucks driving by. It comes down to a matter of what are you looking for? I mean, they're both built on the same foundation. You're going to find that Kilchoman House style, which is going to be a little bit smoky, a little bit peaty, a little bit fruity, which is just really a good foundation to have. But if you're looking for a little bit more on the fruit end, a little bit more on the dry peat end, and a little bit sharper, I would go with the Machir Bay. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more rounded, a little richer, a little deeper, and may I say complex, I would go with the Sanaig, personally. And I haven't tried these with water yet, so that's what we're going to do together, because I made my notes without, and now I wanted to give them a go with. So I'm going to put some water in and see what happens, because at this ABV, I don't think it'll dilute it down too far to where it turns into just a puddle of shit. So on the nose first with the Sanaig. Initially, I have my notes right here. Initially, without water, the nose, this out of the two was my favorite of the noses. I said this one's rich, dense, with raisins, vanilla ice cream, cherry coke, not really hot and very well rounded. So that is the nose on this one. Now, as far as the nose with water, more of the same. Getting more of a cakey, fudgy note on there now. With that little vein of smoke kind of making its way up there, very slightly though. Alright, now let's check out the Machir Bay. My notes initially for this on the nose were light fruits, peach, pineapple, peat, rubber, rain puddle, a little bit of smoke, lemon tart, and fresh rain. Sounds like a Bath and Body Works candle section. Oh, the smokiness and the peatiness has been tamped down a little bit, and the more like the petrichor, fresh rain type of smell is coming more forward. It still smells hotter. I mean, they're both 46%, but it smells higher proof than the Sanaig does. So that's them on the nose. Let's check them out on the palate. I mean, we don't really need to talk about the color difference, do we? It's quite dramatic. This is very indicative of an ex-bourbon aged whiskey, and this one of a sherry matured. Now, initially on the palate for my Sanaig, I wrote soft, rounded, sweet, ash, and I'm actually gonna come on back because I put the Sanaig in my top 5 of 2021 video, and I made a tasting note that is still standing true. It's like a Hawaiian pizza that you made in a wood fire oven, and you're right beside the wood fire oven. You're gonna get some of those tropical fruit notes slightly. Obviously you're gonna get the sherry notes and the raisins and the prunes, and the smoke kind of finding its way, giving a little touch to all of those. Kanbei. Pohauisu. Kuonga. I'm sorry, I forgot. It's like a vanilla custard. It's nice and creamy. The mouthfeel on both of those are fantastic. I really enjoy them. But it's very rounded, very subtle, very chill. The smoke is there, but you kind of have to hunt for it. I wouldn't initially say it's a smoke bomb or a peat bomb at all. That's beautiful. That's so enjoyable. And with the water, the sweetness has come up. I kind of want to say I prefer it without, but both of them are good. So if you have a bottle of this, try it. Try it with both, with or without water, and come to your own conclusion. Now I'm going to take a little sip of this before I hop into the Machir Bay with some water. Both of them are 50 ppm, piece part per million, if you were curious. So again, like I said, they're basically the same stuff. Not basically, they are. There's no basically about it, they are the same stuff going into the barrels. Just different maturation methods, which is so cool, and it's a fun little experiment to dig around with. The sharpness has rounded off, but the viscosity is thinned, which I prefer a more full mouthfeel than I do sharpness. Sharpness is just part of it, and I don't mind that one bit. I like knowing what I'm dealing with. But I also like a fuller mouthfeel, which has been unfortunately taken away from the water. The flavors are similar. I'm getting a lot of vanilla cream, and just a little bit of that smoky vein, that rubbery kind of Band-Aid-y style peat going through. This is more of your stereotypical Isla, in my opinion, than the Sanaig would be. So if that's what you're looking for, check out the Kilchoman. Maybe you're wondering, these are both NAS, obviously, but maybe you're wondering why there's no age statement on these, because you'll never find an age statement on the Kilchomans because they're so young. It's a very young distillery. Not the youngest anymore in Isla. Ardenho has taken that realm. But yeah, so they only opened in 2005. So they're still waiting to be able to have a whiskey old enough to slap a decent age statement on there. But they don't taste as young as they are. Like I said, 3 to 5 years old for these. And remember, it has to be at least 3 years old to be considered a Scotch anyway. But I can't really, they're very well rounded. I'm not getting that sharpness that's indicative of a young whiskey. So they're doing some good shit over there. Right on, guys. Right on. I'm gonna go back into this and see if anything else has changed. On the length, both of them kind of, it's really, really cool. Like the nose, they're kind of apart. The palate kind of veers away, but then they come back to each other when the finish comes around. It's about medium to long. It's a bit bitter. It's a bit semi-dry, I would say, and medium, did I say this already? Medium to long on the finish on both of these. Ashy as well. Sometimes I get on a roll and I say things twice. If that happened, you're welcome again. Man, well, my humble opinion, I prefer them without water because it does decrease the viscosity in the mouth and it does kind of tampen down the flavors that I tend to enjoy. So, but there are merits to it with water, don't get me wrong. I'm sure somebody out there would like it with water. Maybe 44% is your jam. But for me, 46 was doing all right, especially in the Machir Bay. I prefer it, 100% prefer it without water. So yeah, and as I was initially writing my non-watered notes on this, I kind of did a pre-plan on the song, and I was so right. And you've seen my last video, I'm very rarely right. But this time, I nailed it. I absolutely nailed it. I listened to Close to the Edge by Yes. I know you might be thinking of Yes as like an 80s, pop band, but they have some pretty amazing things. And one of my favorite songs to this day, of all time, probably in my top 5, is Roundabout by Yes. And that was way before it became a meme song. Don't get me started on that. That song is a masterpiece, and it hurts me that it's been just resorted to this teeny tiny little clip that people have made into a meme song, which is just heartbreaking. But anyway, Close to the Edge, it's a long one. It's about 18 to 20 minutes long. In my opinion, it's basically the equivalent, like Yes's equivalent to Pink Floyd's Echoes. It's long, it's spacey, it's up and it's down, and obviously listen to that song and you'll hear those exact words. And it's a bit crunchy, I hate that. No, not crunchy. It's a bit odd, it's a bit strange, it's a bit noisy at the beginning. Just see it through, and I promise it'll be worth it. Just pour a glass of one of these or both. I'm gonna blend them at the end. And just stare out the window, have a listen, and just get lost in your thoughts. And that is absolutely perfect for these two guys. Right on, right on. So at the end, which one would I recommend? Yes. I would recommend either of them. It really, again, it's apples and oranges. It depends on what you want, what you're looking for. It's a loud truck. It depends on what you're looking for. To reiterate, do you want something a little more deep? Do you want something rounded, a little more complex? Then go for the Sanaig. If you're looking for something more stereotypically Isla, then check out that Machir Bay. Either way, it's a win-win. And if by total wine standards at the same price, then yeah, you're all good. Buy both. Why not? So it's a win-win on either one. Quality stuff, and I look forward to Kilchoman's future. If they're going to be kicking out like higher age statement whiskeys, it's going to be a happy time for us, for sure. So thanks for listening to this American talk about Scotch whiskey. I greatly appreciate it. And if you stuck around to the end, thank you very kindly. Again, if you enjoy this type of stuff, please like it and subscribe. Much obliged, and we will see you next time.